Hey everyone, Jessica Coulter here, and today we're going to talk about area for three different shapes. So again, my name is Jessica Coulter. I am the CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring, and today I want to go over the different formulas for three shapes, as well as what to expect on some homework assignments or test problems involving these three shapes and their areas. So the three shapes we're going to be talking about today are triangles, squares, and circles. And we're also going to be talking about rectangles. So just so you know, we do solve for squares and rectangles the same way, but there is a difference I want to make sure we cover. And on a special note, do know that the units of area are always squared. So depending on your age or your child's grade level, your teacher might require you to write squared, or they might not, but it's a good practice to go ahead and write squared because that is the correct way to do it, and it's going to be the correct way to do it for the rest of your child's education. Okay, so the first formula I want to go over is for the area of a triangle. So here I've got the formula two different ways. Area equals half times base times height, or you might also see it as area equals height times base divided by 2. So either way is correct. It just kind of depends on you, your child, and what the teacher might be teaching it as. I personally think that the HB over 2 is harder, but that's just a personal preference. And in case you don't know, we've got the definitions up here. Base equals B and height equals H. And in case that's at all confusing, over here I've got a triangle for you. This one's a right triangle, so we're going to keep this pretty simple. On the more advanced problems, it can be harder to find height than a side length, but today we're just going to keep it simple and start with kind of an introduction into the area of a triangle. So before I go too much farther, just want to stop and let you know that if you are looking for some one-on-one help, we do provide lessons in person if you're near us in Kansas or online. So either way, just go to our website to schedule a lesson. The link is on your screen. It's acecookie-tutoring.com/book online. I know math can be difficult to understand, and if you're working on an assignment or maybe working on an online class that you're just not getting, we would love to work with you. So again, feel free to schedule an appointment by going to our website. And if you just want to watch the tutorial and work it on your own, I know you're going to be able to do it. I know that I've given you the basics here in this tutorial, but if you want to take the shortcut and get that help so we can help you with whatever assignment or test or whatever you're preparing for, we would love to help you. So thanks so much, guys. We'll go ahead and continue on with some more information about area. Okay, so we now need to talk about area of a square and a rectangle. So like I said earlier, the formula is the same. If I want to find the area of a rectangle or a square, it's going to be length times width. And again, in case you're all confused, up here we've got L, that's length, and then the W is width. Now this graphic does have A and B, so I'm sorry if that's at all confusing. Couldn't find one that had L and W. I guess I should have made one for you. So in this graphic, A times B is the same thing as L times W, and then that B is going to be the length, and A is going to be the width. So same concept, just has different letters or variables. Now, something I want to make sure I don't forget to tell you is this special note. So we're solving for length times width for both the area of a square and a rectangle, but a square has the same side lengths. So if you want to solve for the area of a square, you can do it a little simpler if you want. Now, if this is at all confusing, just go ahead and ignore this and move on to the next slide. Otherwise, if we've got a square, which isn't quite this, let me try this again, guys. There we go, that looks a little better. Essentially, the sides are all going to be the same length. So I could do length squared, or I could do width squared. And that would be how I'd find the area of a square. So I'm going to get the same answer if I do length times width, or if I do length squared or width squared when I'm solving for the area of a square. So that does not work for rectangles, only for squares. But like I said, if that's at all confusing, just always do length times width when you're working on a square or rectangle area problem. Okay, so we've got one more formula to go over before we actually start looking and working some problems. And this last formula is the area of a circle. Now this one might be the hardest depending on your child or your age level or grade level. The area of a circle is pi times r squared. So if you're wondering what pi is, I'm not talking about the food, we're talking about this symbol. Okay, so it's kind of got the two straight lines is how most people draw it, and then the kind of squiggly line on top. So that is going to be pi, and when you do a problem, it's always going to be 3.14. Now there are a whole bunch more digits associated with pi, but for most classes, unless you're taking something really advanced, 3.14 is all you're going to need to plug into your calculator, and then r is going to be the radius. Okay. So on this diagram, all we're caring about is this bottom formula, circle area pi times r squared. And if you're at all confused, I said squared earlier. So r and then that little 2 on top, that means squared. Okay. So don't worry about this part over here, this gray shaded area on this diagram. Just worry about the pi times r squared. And one quick note here, we're not going to do any problems like this today. But again, depending on your grade level, the type of problems you might be working on, you might run into this on your homework or on a test. You need to know that radius is half of the diameter. So you might have a problem that gives you the diameter, but not the radius. And so in order to solve the area of a circle, you need to find the radius from the diameter. And all you have to do is divide that diameter in half. So now that we've got those three formulas, we're able to actually start working some problems. Hey there, Jessica again. Before we move on to some problems, just want to let you know that we are on Facebook and on YouTube. So depending on how you're watching this video, if you're on Facebook, we'd love to have you as a follower. You can go to that link on your screen, facebook.com/AceCookieTutoring, and click on that follow button. We'd love to have your like as well, but if you follow us and then you go to your notifications and turn on all notifications, every time we post a new video like this one, or we list our new monthly special, or any other great resources we post, and all the great stuff we have about our groups, that is all on Facebook. And then if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching this video there. Do click subscribe, and again, you'll be notified as soon as we upload some videos. We're uploading about 3 videos a week or so. And make sure, same thing on YouTube, you're clicking that notification button, which is going to be the bell. So either way, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. We'd love to have you become a follower or a subscriber, and keep listening for some actual example problems. Alrighty, so now that we have those 3 formulas down, we're ready to do some problems. We're just going to do one problem per formula. So if you're looking for some more advanced problems or maybe some word problems, do make sure you keep an eye on my page, on my website, or on YouTube, because we'll be doing some new videos as well with some harder examples. So for this example, number 1, we've got a triangle. We're going to go back to what our formulas were. So we've got the half times base times height, or if you prefer, we've got the base and height, so it doesn't matter the order, height times base times height, either is the same, divided by 2. So either way I do it, I am going to get the right answer. Okay, now I don't mean to confuse, I had forgotten which problem I had in here. I thought I had right triangles. So the example I showed you earlier was a triangle like this one, and so the base would be the 3 inches, and then the height would be the 6 inches. So we do have a right triangle here, if you see that dotted line. So hopefully that's not confusing. But in case you need it, the 3 is the base, and then the 6 is the height. Okay, so a good way to do these problems is to always look for this square. That's kind of a good giveaway that a number is the height. So the number kind of on the dotted line or right next to that side, if it was just a regular right triangle, would be the height. So let's go ahead and plug in some numbers and figure out the area of this triangle. So we're going to do half times the base, which is 3, times the height, which is 6. And then again, if you prefer the other way, we can do, again, 3 times 6 or 6 times 3. Either way, doesn't matter. And then we're going to divide by 2. So if we do this bottom way, 6 times 3 is 18. And then we're going to divide by 2, so I get 9. If I do this top way, I think it's easiest to have a half and then multiply it by, again, 3 times 6 is 18. And then all we have to do, if we're going to multiply by fractions, is we put the 18 over 1. And then we can either multiply across, so I get 18 over 2, or if you prefer, and a quicker way would be to cross simplify. So in case you need a reminder, the 1's cancel out. Then we can divide 18 by 2, so the 2 cancels out, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So whichever way works better for you, you're going to end up with 9. Okay, so that's half of the answer. And remember, we said that the units of area are always going to be squared. So I had 3 inches and 6 inches. So I'm going to have inches and squared. And the reason it's squared is because I did inches times inches. So whenever I do 2 of the same unit times each other, then I have to square. So again, we used our formulas here, the half times base times height, or we used HB over 2. So either way you do it, you should get the correct answer of 9 inches squared. All right, so we are all done with triangles. Now we're ready to talk about rectangles. So this one's going to be easier. So hopefully you remember the formula we talked about. If you don't, I would go back and review the previous slide. So that way you can start memorizing these formulas, because they're going to be very useful on the rest of your math classes, on the ACT, on the SAT, and pretty much for the rest of your life. I can guarantee it. So the formula is length times width, and that gives me the area of a rectangle or a square. So we've got 5 miles and 8 miles. So we're going to just multiply 8 times 5, and that is 40. And remember, like we just talked about, the unit is going to be squared. So the correct answer here is 40 miles squared. Okay, so all this took was knowing the formula, which was length times width, and then realizing which one was which. It doesn't matter for a rectangle. I mean, here we would have 5 miles, that's going to be the width, and then I have 8 miles is the length. But it doesn't really matter when we're finding area. Now, just on a quick side note, a lot of times when you're learning area, you learn perimeter at the same time. And I don't want to go into that to confuse you, but I will tell you on a rectangle that the opposite sides are going to be congruent. So the opposite sides have the same length. Okay, so not important for area, but very important for perimeter. So now that we're done with this problem, we're going to go ahead and move on to a circle problem. Okay, so now we're ready to do our last problem, and this is finding the area of a circle. So again, I said we're not going to worry about diameter, we're just going to start with radius. If you ever needed to, you could divide the diameter in half and then solve for the area. So just like before, hopefully you remember the formula. And if you don't, I'd go back and review. So if we're looking for the area of a circle, we're going to do pi r squared. Okay? So that is how we find the area of a circle. And pi is 3.14. And then the radius in this example is 7.7 and then squared. Okay? So all I have to do is plug that into a calculator. Now, depending on what kind of calculator you're using, you might need to do 7.7 times 7.7, because that is going to be the same thing as 7.7 squared. Or, depending on a different kind of calculator, you might have that caret. You might have heard that term in class or online. So 7.7 and then caret 2, that is the same thing as 7.7 squared. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it on your calculator, or if you want to hand write it out, it's whatever works best for you. And then remember, pi is going to be 3.14. So when I do that math, I end up with 186.1706. And then remember, we're going to use that unit, centimeters, and it has to be squared because it is an area formula. Okay? Now your teacher could ask you to round this answer, so it just kind of depends on your teacher and your homework assignment in particular. So since I didn't give any guidelines, I would say don't round. So just keep all 4 digits after the decimal. So there you have it, guys. We have done an example problem of each type of shape: triangle, square, rectangle, and circle. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We are so glad to have you here, and do know we can help you in person. So if you're looking for some help, maybe you still have some questions after watching this tutorial, or maybe you just want a refresher and want to make sure you understood everything, go to that link on your screen, acecookie-tutoring.com/book online, and we'd love to work with you in person or online. And do also know, with our tutorials, we're creating paid resources. So if you'd like to purchase any of those are also on our website, acecookie-tutoring.com/shop. So if there's not something there that you're looking for, maybe you wanted some activities or different activities like worksheets or different things for your student to use to learn these, we would gladly create those for you. And lastly, in case you're not a Facebook person, we do have an email list as well. Just send us an email at acecookie-tutoring@gmail.com, and we'd be glad to get you on the list and start emailing you our monthly newsletters and specials, as well as our weekly emails with some great information. So thanks so much. We'll see you in the next video.